process. Wonderful. We'll start again. Hi everyone. And look, just wonderful to have you here. And look, I'm going to pass over to Fleur next to introduce herself, and we'll just go maybe Fleur, Haruka, and then Karina, if that's okay.
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name's Fleur. I work in marketing for Dev Academy. I am in non-sunny Auckland right now. I've been with Dev for about a year, and very excited to go off on leave tomorrow for a week. It's my last little task before heading off. So I will pass on to Karina.
Oh, thanks, Fleur. Hi, everyone. My name is Karina. I am one of the bootcamp facilitators, and I'm based in Poneke, Wellington. I'm also a fairly recent graduate myself. I've done the course from March to July and then basically jumped into the team as a facilitator. So yeah, it's been awesome so far, and it's really nice meeting you all, and I pass over to Haruka.
Hi everyone, I'm Haruka and I am a Dev Academy graduate. I did the cohort in Auckland from January to April, I believe it was. And now I'm working as a software developer. I should add, I'm a career switcher, which I think a few people who are interested in Dev Academy would be.
Cool. Thanks, everyone. And Leah, welcome to our guests as well. So, look, today we're going to go through our slides and talk about sort of the ins and outs of Dev Academy, talking about course content, how we're a bit different, what job hunting looks like, why tech. We'll answer any questions that you've got for us, including those that people have submitted before they've come here today. This is recorded. We do post this out to you all via email as well. But if you've missed something in the evening, if you've got a burning question, please do contact us. There are lots of questions sort of to answer, particularly if you're changing career. It's a really big thing. I mean, it's a big thing anyway. And we're a bit different from your usual sort of university or polytech. So please don't be shy about asking questions. All right, we'll bowl on into it. So why us? What makes us different? Now this is our mission here, and our vision is a better, kinder, more diverse tech industry. Now we've been going now for 10 years, and we've thought long and hard, I guess, every cohort, every student that comes through us, are we doing the right job, and can we improve on what we do? But one thing that's stayed pretty steadfast is our vision. We love being software developers. We'd love to see a sector that was more diverse. We'd love to continue the culture of kindness and collaboration and innovation that exists in this sector. And the pillars that hold that up for us are Aroha, Pono, and Tika, which is kindness, integrity, and effort. And those are, I mean, if you come to our school, those are the things that really we bring in on day one, and they form the foundations of what we do. It's just something that we've had from day one. When we started, we asked the tech sector a very simple question: what makes a good software developer a great one? And what came back was overwhelmingly it's the soft skills and the people skills. So we put that at the core of what we do, and it's our point of difference, really. Everything that you'll do at Dev Academy will be practical, but it will also be practical in that people sense as well. You'll need to practice your people skills constantly. And the good thing is we think we're pretty good at teaching that, and students come out of Dev Academy often reflecting that was the biggest impact on them as software developers. We also get a lot of commentary from the tech sector saying, hey, the graduates coming out of Dev Academy, they have fantastic team skills and leadership skills, and they will be the ones that will be leading our organizations in 5 to 10 years' time because of those skills. It's something we really pride ourselves on. So going into just the nuts and bolts, what makes us a little bit different? Our program is 17 weeks. That's pretty short for our full-time boot camp. And it's at a level 6, which is relatively high for a short course. Okay. Now you can do it part-time, which makes it much longer. And again, we've designed that specifically for folks that can't leave their job or have a lot of responsibility around family, or maybe that's someone that's unwell, or maybe there's you just like to take it a little bit slower. So we have designed a program that you can do it over a longer period of time. But being able to, I suppose, stop your career and stop working for a short period of time and change career and then get into another job is really what we're aiming for. We want you to be able to do this without bankrupting yourself. And let's face it, all of us are going to have to do this multiple times in our lifetimes. This is just the new norm. And if any of you are interested in listening to things, there's a fantastic interview by Diary of a CEO with someone called Raoul Pal, who talks about the financial sector, but also talks about innovation, AI, and just that rate of change, and it blows you away. Our completion rates are very, very high, and in last year they were at 97%. That doesn't mean our program's easy, and it's not, but it signals a couple of things. One, we don't leave people behind. Okay, we have small classes, small amounts of students, and we really dedicate our time to making sure they're successful. Okay, it also speaks to the fact that we don't teach in a uniform way. We don't ask you to come into our school and conform, because when you do that, you're usually conforming to a norm and you're shutting a lot of people out of that, and there's a lot of failure. We don't do that. We change and adapt to a student's needs. So if you've got a particular learning style, we will bend over backwards to accommodate that. The good thing is all of our teachers are really clever with people and really clever at teaching and learning themselves. So we're good at that, and that's why we have such a high success and completion rate. The teacher to student ratio as well. To give you an example, we're having cohorts of around sort of 30 to 40 across New Zealand. Some of them are based in Auckland, some of them Wellington, some of them remote, and we've got 4 or 5 teachers that sit across that group of people. So it's not a 1 to 1,000 or 1 to 500 students. It's a small team of teachers to a very small team of students, okay? And we treat you like software developers. So if you were to rock up to your average tech company, your trade me's and zeros and so on, you'd have a team lead, you'd also have a technical lead, and then you'd have a group, a team that around that of around 10 to 12 people. That's really like how we like to run here as well. What it means is that you can learn at speed, and you also get that one-on-one interaction, which is really, really valuable. When we think about teaching, we think about the 2 sides of software development. I've talked a little bit about that people side, that the software sector came back to us saying, look, if you're going to train software developers, you have to train them on how to learn, how to collaborate, how to pair program, how to empathize, how to communicate, how to listen, how to take direction, how to give and receive feedback. All of these skills we bring into the boot camp. So we will teach you some amazing technical skills, but that's the easy part. We will also teach you some amazing human skills. And when you integrate those 2 things, you start to really, to be honest, you have a really high-performing team member when you do that. Now, we've followed a lot of, we geek out on education. So we've looked at a lot of your tech companies that are really trying to push the boundaries of performance and efficiencies and these sorts of things. Again, if you want a great read, go and have a look. I think it's called the Aristotle Project, I think, by Google. But they look at high-performing teams, and the biggest factor, they looked at a whole lot of their teams. The biggest factor was emotional safety, We've taken a lot out of that study, and we've looked at emotional safety, and that's what's built our human skills program. And we've developed it and honed it and adapted it to a New Zealand context, and it's really valuable and really effective. So employers do love Dev Academy graduates. I've been talking to a couple of employers this week. Just again, we take a huge amount of effort to really talk to our sector to make sure that we're doing a good job. One of the folks I talked to yesterday was just talking about the fact that the cost of taking on Dev Academy graduates is so much lower because they're so well prepared for the sector. So employers do love us, the fact that we've got this strong interaction, but also when graduates go into these organizations, they're bringing the right skills, but also a diverse range of skills, okay? Most of the folks at Dev Academy are career movers, and you're bringing a real plethora of skills that you've gained through other careers and so on. So, and they're really, really valuable, irrespective of what you've done. We are a safe and supportive environment. I've talked a little bit about how we adapt to people's needs, but we really do take that to heart. We're really interested in neurodiversity. We're really interested in how people learn and adapting that. We're also very self-aware in the way in which we teach, so that, we're not, if we've got a certain need, we're not just catering to that need of ourselves. We're really understanding the needs of those that are around us. There's lots of circle sort of work, and by that I mean it's not a someone sitting at the front and do as you're told. It's really we're in a circle, we're learning together, and we're learning from each other as well. And that's a very powerful sort of thing to do. Again, all of these things here that I'm talking about, they are tech sector things as well. Okay, so high performing tech sector teams will do a lot of these things too. And there's a quote there from Caden, which is, really represents, I guess, what we're doing, and also the difference between that classical education that you might have experienced. Okay. If there's any questions, folks, you're most welcome to stop me. Just mute yourself or whatever you'd like. Okay. Fleur, I'm going to mute you because I got a little bit of feedback there every now and then. Sorry. All right. Okay. It's your time to shine. Now, Haruka, I just would love to start off with maybe just introducing yourself and maybe just a little bit of your background.
Cool. So currently I am working as a software developer at a company called Tracksuit, who does brand tracking for many big companies. They're a Kiwi startup, so it's very exciting. In a previous life, though, I was a civil engineer. So I studied at uni. I did my 4 years of that. I did internships, and then I worked for about 4 years in construction before deciding that it was not the best place for me, both in terms of the culture and in terms of just the type of work that I enjoy doing.
Fantastic. Yeah, thank you. Just a quick question. There is a lawnmower going on in my background. Can anyone hear that?
I think I heard it slightly, but
It's not so bad?
no.
Let me know if it's too much. There is a window there that I can close. So, Haruka, what informed your decision to come to Dev Academy? What was that sort of thought process? Maybe, tell me a little bit about that.
I must admit, my partner was thinking about it and about switching careers, and he's the one that did a lot of research as to what schooling options are out there. So I had been hearing about Dev Academy for years, and he even suggested it to me when he first realized that I wasn't happy with my career. So we thought about it for many years, like not too many, like 3 or so, before I finally decided to do my own research onto things. And I just really, to both of us, what really stood out was the human skills. It was not something that, of course, we have at uni at all. And it was also not something that I saw other boot camps doing. So I thought that was really awesome. And from what I could see, a lot of the alumni seem to have gotten a lot out of those human skills as well as Careers Week. And when talking to Dev Academy, they also ensured that I had a support network for my personal life due to how intense the bootcamp is, and I really appreciated that honesty and empathy in the process.
Mm. Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, fantastic. And what are you working on at the moment? What's going on at Tracksuit?
Oh, a lot. But for my team, where I've been put is the what the customers see. So I'm working on the main product. Tracksuit is software as a service. That's the sort of company it is. So I feel very lucky to be working on the thing that the customers see. Currently I'm working on fixing a lot of bugs. Um, there's a lot there, but there's a lot of also projects coming up. So it looks like I'll be getting involved into those. I've only been at Tracksuit for about a month now. So yeah, just getting my feet on the ground, really.
And you're getting to know the team and enjoying it?
Yeah, I love it. It was my dream company. It's my dream role. And it blows my mind that I ended up there every day. Every day that I walk around, I'm like, is this a dream that I'm here? Because I love it so much and I never thought it would be possible.
Yeah, fantastic. Fantastic. And tell me a little bit about, what you learnt at Dev Academy and how you're applying it to your work.
So first of all, in terms of the tech side, we use very modern frameworks at Dev Academy, and that has been very helpful. We are using TypeScript at Tracksuit. We use React and we use SQL databases. All of those I learned at Dev Academy, so it hasn't been too difficult, as well as Git version control. That's awesome. But more importantly, like you've said, Rowan, is the human skills. It really does come back to that, like the tools we learn on time management, on debugging, and on communication have been so incredibly helpful. And, I was once a junior civil engineer and now a junior software developer. And I feel like there's such a big difference in myself from those two times. And I feel like I can really take charge of my career thanks to those human skills and hopefully fast track it.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome to hear. Um, Looking back on your experience, what was your greatest sort of learning or most memorable learning, either technical or non-technical?
I'll go for technical because this feels a bit easier, but I remember one time I was just revising the content. And this was a bit later on in the boot camp after we've learned the full stack, but we had just learned it. So it still didn't fully make sense. But I was revising, making my diagrams, and suddenly, while looking at my diagrams, it just hit me, and like it all suddenly clicked and made sense, and it was such a great feeling. And I ran to Discord and I messaged my facilitator like, is this right? Because I think it finally clicked. And I think what stood out from that to me was the fact that we learned about just-in-time learning at Dev Academy. And it can be tough because you want things to make sense in the moment. But if you trust the process and just if you are okay with the fact that you can't understand everything all at once, um, that will be really helpful in the long run. And I felt like all of my efforts at that point kind of were paying off by me understanding the full stack.
Yeah, just-in-time learning. Yeah,
Yeah,
that can
great.
be new for folks and a little bit disconcerting. Um, we might talk about that later. What surprised you most about boot camp, Haruka?
Probably the human skills, and yeah, how empathetic the facilitators were with us. And I think in that they probably tried to make it as the least intense it could be. Um, if anything, I felt that it was more intense when I was back home. But another thing that I was very surprised by was actually Careers Week. I took away a lot from that, and I feel completely changed, especially navigating the job market. I was previously in a different STEM field, and I think they are very similar in the way they recruit people. So I feel like in a way I learned from that previous experience. I kind of learned what not to do, but I feel like at Dev Academy Careers Week, I learned what I should be doing, which was awesome.
Yeah, cool. That's really cool. And that's again something that is a little bit different. Like we do regard, obviously it's great that you graduate, but the real success is when you get work. So that's when we're celebrating. Knowing what you know now, and after completing the program, if you were to go back in time and give yourself some advice, what would it be?
Hmm. I think you have to be very committed to the course. And I wouldn't really change anything I did because I was. Um, but definitely trusting the process. Like I said, you have to be okay with being uncomfortable, be okay with the just-in-time learning. And also, we are warned ahead of time about how intense it will be and all the hours you have to put in outside of the bootcamp itself. So just following through on that, I think was really, really helpful. Like, I'm not sure if I'm the fastest learner in the world, so I think I did need to put in that extra time for things to really click and make sense. Um, so yeah, I think if you really trust your facilitators and the whole process, I really think it will set you up to succeed.
Nice, nice. Yeah, that's fantastic. And you did the full-time program, obviously,
Mm.
and the part-time program is quite a different pace.
Mhm.
One last question, which is a bit different. Looking back on your previous career and thinking about where you are now, I know you're like you pinch yourself thinking this is the most amazing place, but what's the difference between the sectors? Like, is there anything that stands out as being, it's this different culturally, it's different feel, it's different vibe. What's different there for you?
I think the biggest thing for me is that wanting to be continuously improving. I didn't feel that very much in civil engineering, to be honest. It felt like a lot of companies were okay with the way things were, or I got a lot of that's just how we've always done things. Whereas I think it's very different in tech. And even though I think things are much better in terms of diversity, um, and just the culture overall in tech, it seems that people still point out the problems and they still say, no, we have a long way to go. And I feel like they're never complacent in that. And I really, really love that. And it's the same at Traxxas. They say, we can never get to the point where we say, that's just the way we've always done things. Continue to question things and yeah, push the boundaries.
I really like that. I really like that. Yeah. Yeah, we have a phrase at Dev Academy, and I think it's a tech sector phrase that there's no experts because the
Mhm.
moment you're an expert, you've stopped learning, right? So it is a field that is continuously evolving and growing. And in fact, we've literally thrown out a curriculum 3 times, which is hugely expensive, but you just need to because things move. Thank you so much for sharing your story and sharing yeah, the answers to those questions. I just wanted to put it out there. We've got 3 guests with us. So is there anything that any of you would like to ask Haruka while we've got her here? No? Okay. Well, if there is, you're most welcome to throw them in the chat. Um, and thanks again, Haruka. If you would like to go now, you are most welcome. Thank you again for your time. Much appreciated.
Yeah, thank you for having me. All right, I love Dev Academy, so happy to chat.
We love you too.
See
Thank
you.
you. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Okay. We're now getting to another superstar, Karina, to go through the course. Now, I'll we can tag team a little bit, Karina, but I'll let you sort of go and start from here. But just if you want me to do anything, just sing out and I'll take over.
Cool, that sounds great. Thank you so much. Yeah, so let's have a look at the course itself. So we basically offer 2 different options that you can choose from. So the first option, which you've already got introduced to in a way, is the full-time cohort, a full-time course, which takes about 17 weeks. And here you've got the option to do an in-person campus experience, which is offered in Auckland, Wellington, and also as of recent in Christchurch as well. And we also have an online option there as well. The full-time option is really good for those of you who can really commit time-wise to this course, because as you would have heard just now, it is quite fast-paced and you learn lots and lots of things in a very short amount of time. So usually you don't dedicate all your time on a weekly basis to that for 17 weeks. You can also choose the can we
I'm
go
trying,
back to the other slide?
trying to go back, Karina, and for some reason it's being a pain.
Oh,
Oh,
oh no.
what? There we go. There we go. It's doing it now. Sorry. Sorry.
It's all good. Thank you. I'm just relying a bit on the slides. Yeah, so the starting the intake dates for the full-time course is in January, March next year, so pretty soon around the corner. But if you find you need a little bit more time and a slower pace, you also have the part-time option, which takes around 46 weeks. But this one is only delivered online. But hey, you can do it from the comfort of your own couch, which is great. And this one starts in February next year as well. The great thing about each course is it uses the same curriculum. So there we've got foundations, bootcamp, and careers, which we'll get to in a second. But yeah, both is covered in that same sense. You get the same level of support from facilitators, and you pay the same fees. The real difference is that you get a different pace with each option, and you really can decide how fast you want to graduate, and that's the main big difference there. Cool. I think we can go to the next slide. Thank you. So yeah, so as I mentioned, we have foundations, bootcamp, and careers. With the full-time campus, full-time course, you of idea of any coding as of now. That is all good because this is where we basically teach you all of those fundamentals. And from there on, once you complete foundations, you get into bootcamp, which takes around 9 weeks. As you can see, the hours per week are a little bit higher there. This is what we refer to as the more intense part. Usually 60 to 70 hours per week is kind of a ballpark number, and what you put in is what you get out. So it really depends on how much time you can really put into this course. But yeah, this is where we basically build upon the knowledge that you've gained in foundations, and this is where we introduce you to something we call full stack web development. So we basically transition you from basic coding languages to actually learning the tools, the frameworks, and the concepts that you need to succeed in the industry. This is also the part that gets delivered in person. So if you're in Auckland, for example, usually that tends to get delivered fully in person. What we had in the last couple of cohorts in Christchurch, Wellington, both of them, is that we kind of put them together with the online cohort, and this is where we essentially created a bit of a hybrid experience, which is really popular at the moment in the industry as well. And this is where you can still go to a campus and learn with your peers in person, but you also get exposed to the online cohort and make new friends along the way that way as well. So this is really awesome. And then in the last part, the careers block, which is 2 weeks long, this is where you will learn all the important things like the formula to get yourselves job ready and ready to go and hunt for that first job to do your career switch. Cool. Let's have a look at foundations. So this is the first block, and I mentioned fundamental coding programming languages. The 3 fundamental coding languages that we teach you are HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So if you don't know what that is completely okay. Basically, imagine your most favorite website that you can think of, and basically HTML is the language that you can use to set the structure of the content on a website. CSS is what gives us its styling, its look and feel, what makes it look really pretty and nice. And then JavaScript is what makes it interactive and fun to use. So basically, if you think of that, they kind of come in a tag team with one another. But then alongside of the course, as you go into bootcamp, we focus more and more on JavaScript and the different frameworks that come from it. For the first few weeks of foundations, you get to learn how to create very simple websites. And then from there on, you get to explore, what you can, like what kind of powerhouse JavaScript really is and how you can really, like what kind of things you can really build with that. We also have a language called Git, which is kind of a version control tool, which allows you to save any changes that you make to your code. You can revert things and you can save things as well. And we often use that in conjunction with a platform called GitHub, which is where you push those saves and changes to your code up to a platform where other people can then pull it down to either collaborate on it, but it's also another way of backing up your code as well. And on the right-hand side, you can see a little tic-tac-toe game, which is one of the exemplar challenges that you'll find in Foundations. And this is, I believe, one of the JavaScript challenges from memory. And this hopefully gives you a really great example as well that you might be able to use those three languages for building simple websites, but you can also create really fun games in your browser as well, so you can get really creative with it. And also just to add on, we do have a bit of a soft skill side to Foundations as well, and often that comes to show as well. You get put into a home group where you meet other like-minded students that are there probably for a very similar reason as yourselves. And you get that sort of sense of community when you're with that home group, but also often facilitators tend to host workshops or help you with little code challenges that may have baffled more than one student. So it's a very lovely, supportive little environment. So yeah. Is there anything that you want to add on to that, Bro?
No, that's great, Karina. Thank you.
Perfect. Cool. I'll get into the bootcamp side of things now. So we have 3 phases with bootcamp. So the first phase, or each phase, is 3 weeks long. So the first phase will focus on what we call client side. And client side basically means anything that you can see or interact with in the browser. We can also call it front end. You might have heard that floating around maybe. But basically, this is where we extend on JavaScript and we teach you something called TypeScript. So basically, TypeScript is like a really supercharged and stricter version of JavaScript, which is really handy to use down the track. But we also still use plain old JavaScript by itself for certain challenges as well. So you still get more and more practice with that too. We also introduce you to a framework that's based on JavaScript called React, where you can build reusable interactive building blocks. You can kind of think of it as little Legos, and you can build really cool interactive apps that reuse those blocks really, really quickly, which is really handy for that. We also cover something called unit testing and test-driven development, and we use VTest for this one. So basically, this teaches you how to code in a very robust way, kind of how you would imagine, like you want to have a nice solid foundation for your house and not create it out of cardboard. So testing kind of puts that sort of extra foundation around your code. And then we also have something called REST API, which is how you can access external data that someone else has put up and made accessible for others to use. So this is where we teach you how to access that data and how you can display it in your browser, which is quite neat. It gives you a lot of creative agency there. And yeah, these are some of the frameworks and tools that are currently really highly sought after in the industry. As you heard, Haruka, she uses TypeScript and React in her work. So yeah, definitely up to date with that one. Cool. And then as we go to phase 2, we tend to look at the server side. So the server side is also referred to as the back end. And this is where we teach you essentially how to set up a server for your app. So this is where we use JavaScript with a package called express.js. So again, another JavaScript tool. And we also teach you how to set up your own database using SQLite or SQLite. I think it gets referred to as either. But we use Connects.js. So again, very heavy on the JavaScript side of things too. And this is basically where we teach you how you can store, update, and manage your own data that you can use in your apps. So rather than just relying on someone else who made the data externally available for you, you can also create your own data and use it in your own app, which is pretty cool. And then the last puzzle piece would be authentication using Auth0. So this one would be really handy if you want to, if you want your website or app to have a user profile, you want someone to be able to log in. And the great thing about Auth0 is that it securely stores those user details for you and does a lot of the heavy lifting for you. Cool. And then in the last phase, we move on to the full stack and really practicing in group projects. So this is the focus on basically imagine yourself, we basically taught you everything that you need to know, and now is the time to really let your skills shine. And basically from there on, you have a full view of the full stack. So you've learned the client side, you've learned the server side, and you know now how to connect those two things together. And this is where you get lots and lots of practice with working together with other students on bigger projects. And here, like, we have two really big projects that we do. So one is called a teacher-led multi-day project, which is where one of us facilitators will guide you and lead that project, and you'll be in a dev team building lots and lots of features and basically like bringing a website or app together from scratch. And then after that, we have a final group project, which is definitely more student-led. So you bring basically any ideas to the table, and you basically work together in a bigger team on this idea. And you have a lot, like a lot longer to really work on it. You have a full week, I'm pretty sure, to really get this up and running. And the great thing about this final group project is that you have all the way up to the very last day of bootcamp to work on it. And this is where we also do something called Showcase Evening, which is essentially also your graduation ceremony. And this is basically where you can show and present your app or website or game. Some students in the past have created games as well, where they showed this to their friends and family and whānau, but they also showed this to industry professionals that might tag along, and even our previous Dev Academy graduates come along as well to have a look as well. And it's a really supportive environment. If you're a bit nervous about public speaking, it is super supportive. Everyone is like in really good spirits, and it is really good practice as well. And you get lots and lots of opportunities throughout bootcamp to present little apps that you've built and showcase the rest of the cohort. Yeah, and then what is a day in the life like for a student here? So basically, bootcamp, because it is 9 weeks long for the full-time course, it can look different at certain stages of the phase. But usually what we do is we put students in accountability groups, and those accountability groups change every week. And every morning they tend to do a little check-in with one another. So this is where people kind of go like, how's your day been? Or like, how's your morning been? How are you feeling? All those kind of things. And basically, this is where you get a little bit more rapport with different people in your cohort, and because these groups change every week. These accountability groups are also going to be your group project peers. So this is where you get a lot of time each morning to kind of have a chat with them and getting to know them as well. Then we go into something called mindfulness. So this is where the cohort comes together. And this is a really good time to really recenter and get your focus in the right place for the day, because there will be a lot of information thrown at you, but in a good way, I promise. And it definitely will help you down the track, especially when things can get a bit stressful. So this is why we really value mindfulness sessions there. And then we tend to go into a tech lecture where we introduce you to a new piece of technology or framework. And Thursdays particularly, we also do something called Human Skills Deep Dive. So very similar, but instead of a tech skill, we introduce you to particular soft skill topics, such as how to actively listen to someone else or how to give feedback to someone else. And then with the tech lectures particularly, what we like to do, because one of our principles is to, instead of throwing you through tutorial hell and hope for the best, what we tend to do is we give you a little bit of an intro or information on a technology, and then we put you into peers. So you'll be allocated another student, and you get to work on a code challenge so that you can really practice what you've just learned in that lecture, and really solidifies what you've learned in that moment. We, of course, do lunch as well. We want everyone to be well. So for every day, usually we have 1.5 hours of lunch break, apart from Tuesdays and Thursdays, where we add an extra well-being hour on top of it. So this is where you get 2 hours of no computer, no coding time. And on some campuses, I believe Auckland and Christchurch at the moment do offer it. We also have little yoga sessions as well, which is actually quite nice when you've been sitting in front of a computer and you need a good stretch. So highly recommend those. And then after lunch, we go into another afternoon lecture. That can really depend on the day, but usually this can look like that we give you a new piece of framework or technology to look at, or sometimes one of the facilitators might take you through how you can test that particular technology that we introduced to you in the morning. So sometimes you get more of an add-on lecture for the morning lecture. And then we usually continue with pair programming on that in the afternoon as well, usually by continuing what you've started in the morning, or if it's completely a new topic, we usually add a new challenge to it as well to basically really solidify what you've learned that afternoon. At the end of the week, you basically end up focusing mostly on mini group projects. They tend to be about 1.5 days long, and the learning objective of those is usually that you practice what you've learned that week, but also you get to learn how to apply those soft skills that you've learned in the human skills deep dives, but also how you collaborate with one another and how you would problem solve with one another, which is, I think, what makes Dev Academy so different from other education providers. You get those really practical hands-on skills in those moments. And then at the end of the day, for each, from Monday to Friday throughout, we do a full cohort checkout. So we all get together, we do a closing question, a closing clap, and basically, we basically just check in with one another, how everyone found the day, how everyone found the learnings of that day, and it just creates the little bit of camaraderie there as well, which is quite nice. And what often happens after that is, if you're on campus, sometimes people like to stay behind and do a little bit of extra study. That can either look like doing some extra homework, working on some of these assessments, doing a bit of review. But some people also love to just go home, get a bit of rest, get some dinner, and then go a little bit later in the evening and go back to study then. So really depends on your routine. Cool. Human skills. So I already hinted a couple of things there, but basically the hot topics of human skills tend to be, how do you actively listen to other people? How do you practice empathy for yourself as well as others? A big topic is also how to look after your own well-being, especially because the course can be quite full-on and quite intense. Giving and receiving feedback, which is quite valued in collaborative environments. Self-compassion as well, because, as some of you may or may not know, imposters can be quite tricky to manage, and it doesn't get easier even if you get more experience. So learning this skill earlier is quite helpful. Same thing with courageous conversations. Basically, if you work really closely with people will have different opinions, people have different mindsets about things. So having a courageous but really healthy conversation often helps healthier, productive and collaborative teams. So this is why we add that too. And one of my favorite topics is diversity and inclusion, also very, very big. Basically everyone wants to feel seen and heard, and we want to make sure that we create an environment where that can happen. So this is one of the other topics that gets covered in human skills. Ro already mentioned that we have a high facilitator to student ratio, and this is where the one-on-one check-ins really come to shine here. So basically, your human skills facilitator will have a check-in with you in private confidentiality, so away from the other students. And basically, they will check in with you how you're doing with your well-being. They kind of take on a bit of like a pastoral care kind of role, especially as things get more and more stressful potentially. But also you have one-on-one tech-ins with us tech facilitators. Usually the one who marks you will be the one that you have check-ins with. But this is where you can ask questions. We get to talk about your assessments. If you have anything that baffles you or really challenged you and you want to know more about it. Sometimes students just want to hear about particular technologies that they found online and they're really curious about. So this is the time where you can ask those questions and really get that time for yourself. And yeah. And yeah, some examples where human skills come into practice. So yeah, as I mentioned, the accountability groups is where you basically get to talk to your other peers. Every morning, we often give people an optional question to talk about, which are really often reflections of the human skills deep dives that we give you. And same thing with the opening and closing circles where you get a question to think about an answer, and it often fosters quite a bit of self-reflection each day as well, which helps you on your learning journey. On Fridays, we also tend to do a little bit of journaling time as well in the morning, which is also quite helpful just to center yourself and get your focus ready for the day ahead. You also get to practice your human skills in pair programming and in group projects, just because you will be asked to collaborate with other people. This is where you get to practice the different aspects of them right away, because everyone will be different and you'll get different opportunities and different challenges that you will have to overcome. Lightning talks is an interesting one. This one is basically a bite-sized short talk about a technology or a pioneer, a person that really made an impact on the tech industry. And you basically want to pick something that you don't know about, and you give it a little bit of a quick research, and you basically present that back to a small group in the cohort. And this really practices your public speaking as well. And this is often really fun because you get to learn lots of different topics that you might have not looked into yourself. So these are really, really cool. And yeah, the last two ones for human skills are yoga and wellbeing time that are baked into your schedule in bootcamp. And same thing with the mindfulness practice, which just helps you help your centering for each day, which is great. Cool. And then the last module of the course is the career skills block. So you see the lovely Steph on the left-hand side, who's our career skills facilitator. She's amazing. And of course, Ro is also there to support. And this is also a very crucial part of the program. The first week, we basically give you an overview. We basically give you a current pulse on the tech market, because the tech market changes. It's never static. So you get like the most up-to-date info when you get to that week. We also give you the formula to land the right role for you. So basically, we give you what not to do and also what to do, and really emphasize the what to do for job hunting. We also help you with career planning, how to create a professional online presence. So in this case, that would be LinkedIn. That's like the most commonly used platform as of to date for the tech industry. And we also help you to write your CV and cover letters for a tech role specifically. So some of you might have to rewrite some of those CVs and cover letters from your old industry or area of profession to make it sound more or look more appealing to that tech industry there, and we will help you with that one. And yes, you also get the chance to practice interview skills and how to nail those interviews, because there's a formula to that as well. And yeah, you also get the opportunity to create a portfolio, which is great, because by then you have all the knowledge and skills to build your own portfolio on the web. So this is another great opportunity to practice what you've learned. So yeah.
Yeah,
And
and
then,
just to reiterate that as well, folks. It's actually like if you follow the process, becoming a software developer will happen. But finding a job is another skill in itself, and it really is. So I've said this before. We, as a school, we've taken on that responsibility of really supporting you for as long as it takes to be able to get work. Career skills is absolutely integral. You really have to have it, and it will be stuff that you've never seen before. Um, so yeah, it's quite different. Like the formula that we talk about is different from what others will be using, and that's why it works. And those graduates that really do engage in this and really do follow the process that we've laid out, they have the best opportunities and they find the work the fastest. But it's quite different from what you'd be used to. Yeah, thanks, Karina. Sorry to butt in.
no, it's all good. That's perfect. Thank you. Cool, yeah. And then in week 2, we basically invite a couple of industry speakers to a panel, and they tend to share about what what the companies do that they work at, but also of any grad programs or any job opportunities they might have going in that moment. Often we also invite former graduates to come back and share their story, and they often share things like how they found the job hunting process in itself, how they found their first couple of months to a year of working at a company, and how they found that transition. So yeah, having those people come and talk to you as a pretty much as a soon to be graduating student really helps to get a good sense of what you need to look out for, what you can get excited about for as well. But this is also a great opportunity for students to ask questions in a really safe environment as well, because all of them, especially the grads, have been where you are at, and they're more than happy to, yeah, share any knowledge that they have. So, yeah. Cool. I'll pass it over back to Ro. Thank you.
Thank you, Karina. That was a fantastic summary. I really, really appreciate all that information. Thank you. Cool. So is this course for you? Now, let's go through some of those really important things. The course is $12,497. Now, the reason that's a relatively a large amount of money, really. We've talked about why, though. There's a lot of teachers involved. You're with those teachers for long periods of time. So for the whole week, rather than through little spots in the week, the whole week that you're on boot camp, you're with a teacher. During foundations, it's a little more asynchronous, but there's a huge amount of resource going into that. And if you think about the investment that you've been making in a university program over the 3 years, it's obviously substantially more than that figure there. And what we've done is we've put as much effort as we can into a shortest period of time possible to be able to get you work. And hence, this is why the fee is this amount. All fees can be covered by a student loan. So yeah, talk to us about that. If you don't know if you're eligible, you probably are. I mean, if you're a resident or you've got permanent residency or you're a citizen, you'll be eligible for a student loan. If you're having difficulty with that process with StudyLink, talk to us, because we are experts on being able to communicate and navigate the StudyLink process. It's not straightforward. There is a few hiccups and a few difficulties with that process. So just let us know if you need help with that. If you're a first-time learner, so you haven't done much or any tertiary study, you may be eligible for fees free. And this would mean that the whole of our fees would be covered for free. It wouldn't be a loan. It would be, yeah, it just wouldn't cost you anything. Again, if you want to know if you're eligible for that, contact us, because we've got Helena, Anita, myself. We can help you go through that process with StudyLink to find out that information. You can also get an allowance, a StudyLink allowance for the full-time program if you're eligible. What this is a weekly sum of money that you don't need to pay back that can support your living costs whilst you're studying. So it's over and above your fees. And as I said, we can help you with this stuff. It is a bit of a pain in the neck with StudyLink. They're wonderful people there. It's just that the process is a bit cumbersome. There's a lot of checks and balances that have to be checked. So again, yeah, we've got 3 folks here, including myself, that can help you out with that. Oh, actually, I wanted to go back. So I want to talk a little bit about requirements. So I've said we are a NCEA Level 6 program. And what that means is that, well, for those of you that don't know, your last year of high school, I think they call that year 13, year 12 or year 13, that is level 3. So 1, 2, and 3 are in high school, and 4, 5, 6 are university, and 7 is a degree level, okay? So we're just under that degree level. Of course, a 17-week program is not a degree. So it's a relatively high-level program. However, if you're wondering, well, do I need a level 5 to get into this course or a level 4? The answer is you don't. What we're looking for predominantly is, are you motivated to do this program? And do you have the time and space to be able to put in the work? That, for us, is the measure of success. You will be successful if you're passionate and interested and you put in the time. That's all it takes. We've had folks from all walks of life, you know, butchers and baristas, lawyers, accountants. We've had folks that have literally had long careers in the logging industry, or have been medical doctors and wanted to do something different. Like, it really is a range. During COVID, we had pilots and cabin crew that have been made redundant from obviously the inability to travel. So all of these folks that have come to us from a myriad of different places have been very successful in our program. I've also mentioned the fact that when you come to our program, you're already coming with a plethora of skills. Those skills are really, really valuable. And a number of people think they have to start again, and that's not true. In fact, a lot of our employers will say to us, hey, the majority of your graduates from your school are not graduates. We wouldn't call them graduates. We'd call them maybe intermediates or seniors, but they're new to tech. But because they've had long careers behind them, they know how to work in teams, they know how to learn, they don't get sort of frazzled by, something coming up. They can navigate their own sort of environments, they can communicate. These people are very much further on than just graduates, okay? So if you're thinking about, am I going to be able to get into the sector? Are they going to want someone like me? Just think, okay, I've already got a career behind me with a whole lot of skills, and someone like me is not going to show up very often in tech, so that's going to serve you in really good stead. But as far as requirements, we're looking for passion and an ability to dedicate time. The application process is fairly simple. Jump online. Hit the apply button on our website, and it's a very simple form that you fill out. The main thing is that you might have some questions about your specific scenario there. And don't worry, through the application process, you'll have a number of occasions to be able to ask us lots of questions. They'll be confidential and specific to you as well. So if you've got a particular sort of question or scenario that you'd like to work through with us, just get in touch and go through that application process, and we'll have a chat to you about that. We do bend over backwards for people to be able to do this program. So if you've got a block or a barrier or a question, please do talk to us. The course is intensive, and you've heard that from Karina, that the hours that we're spending here are some pretty high hours. Now, we've got the part-time program, but still, there's a lot of time to sink in that 46-week period, okay? So your commitment needs to be there. And you might think, well, how do I know if I love software development? Well, you won't know until you try. So I do recommend giving it a go. There are some great places like Free Code Camp and the Odin Project, Code Academy. these are these are platforms online in which you can learn a little bit of coding. I want to preface that prompt with the fact that it's pretty lonely, that sort of form of coding. The form of coding that we do is not lonely. It's highly collaborative and it's team focused. You're not going to get that from an online learning platform. So, but do give it a go and see that it is something that you're okay with. And you just bear in mind, you're going to be playing with code a lot in your career, but it's also going to be highly collaborative and very people focused. I've already mentioned the success rate. Again, if you're passionate about this and you dedicate the time, you will be a software developer. We know that. Like, we can do that for you. Finding work, again, if you follow the process that we had, you will find work. It is really dependent on the amount of effort that you put in. Also, I'd like to say that markets go up and down. We've had a really hard market for the last 2 years. It's slowly getting better, but it is slow, okay? Now, the tech sector during COVID absolutely exploded. So the year 2020 and 2021, 2022, they were fantastic years for hiring. In fact, we saw a huge growth in the tech sector, but it certainly tailed off in 2023 and this year. And it's just starting to pick up now. I think, again, we've had our change of government. The global economy has been in a bit of upheaval, but the States in particular has a lot of influence over what New Zealand has. And they're slowly, obviously, they've had an election. They're slowly starting to pick up and invest in their economy. We were seeing that even before the election, that the tech sector was starting to sort of activate itself and get going. So we'll feel that here over the summer and over into next winter. But markets do change a bit. And again, if you'd like to find out a bit more about that, that's something that I'm a bit of an expert in and I'm really interested in. You're most welcome to talk to me about that. I've talked about fees as well. Well, that brings us to the end of the presentation. I'm just wondering if anyone on the call right now has any questions for myself, for Karina, that you'd like to ask. To type it into chat. Don't worry, you're most welcome to type it into chat, or if you can figure out your sound, that's fine too. No worries. Okay. Has anyone else got a question while we wait for PM to figure out sound? Okay. I've got a question here that came in beforehand that I've been asked to answer about the gaming sector. And the question relates to, would this program set me up for game development? We don't specifically do game development, okay? But we have seen a number of our graduates go into that sector. Now, the game development sector and the software development sector or web development sector, a question posed. Okay. Right. I have to quit and return for my... Okay. We have a few questions. Okay. So Lana, for the in-person cohort, does one need to bring their own laptop? What are the specs required? Okay. Good question, Lana. So in Foundations, you will be doing work from home, and this requires your own computer. Now, we don't need a really flash, high-powered machine. We're really looking for something that's not going to frustrate you. So if you've got a computer with minimum 8 gig of RAM, ideally a solid state drive, a relatively new processor, I'd say, what, 6 to 8 years old, Karina, something like that. That should be fine. Oh, and that's fine as well, Lana. So if you've got a high-powered desktop machine, no problem. Use that. When you come into our campus, if you're coming in, we've got computers and machines, and you can use ours. That's no problem. And look, when you go home to learn, you just use your home computer. The good thing about getting a job in tech as well is they'll often buy you hardware when you start. So don't go out and buy a brand new machine that's going to be really expensive. And last year's cohort, so we had 4 cohorts last year, and they range. So some range from, and I'm talking about the whole cohort throughout the country. So we have Auckland, Wellington, sometimes we have Christchurch campuses as well and online, but altogether they range from about 30 people in total to 50, I'd say, around 45. But it does change. So to give you an example, during COVID, we had cohorts of 107, and we just had a lot more teachers. So we can scale. When it was free due to tech grants, and it was awful. I think the usual expectation was, they got a whole thing. Yeah. So, yeah. So as I said, Lana, we will scale. And to be honest, if you've got a cohort of 110, that's not a really good sort of experience. We would be splitting that up into small groups, and we do this anyway. The thing is we want you to be able to get to know the people that you're working with, a bit like a family. There's something very powerful about being able to trust a small group of people and learn with them. We have small groups of people. So during COVID, we had Auckland campus, Wellington campus, and multiple online campuses as well. And what it means is that you're growing an intimate relationship with those people that are around you so that you can really work at speed with them. Yeah, and most other, I suppose, training providers, they have a different model, and that's that sort of one-to-many model. A bit like a university in which a lecturer will preach and people take on that information and then hold information. We're pretty focused on skills. So if you have knowledge and skills and aptitude, that's really what we're looking for. And to give you an example of this, we won't be testing you. So we don't give you tests. There's no quizzes, there's no tests, there's no multiple choice. We're looking for competency. And when you graduate from Dev Academy, what you'll get instead of A's, B's, C's, or D's is you'll get a recommendation. And what that means is that recommendation you can take to an employer a bit like a reference. And I'll be a referee, or one of our teachers will be a referee for you. It's very, very powerful.
Yeah, also just to add onto that as well. So all of the group projects, for example, they're not graded. They are basically just there for your for your practice, but also for experience, because this is where you actually get to actually experience all these stories that you will then bring to an interview and talk about. And also we have assessments, but they are, as Rose said, not based on any grade. It is pretty much a pass or a fail, and you will most likely pass it as long as you actually do the work in those assessments. And often you actually start those assessments as part of the coding challenges that you do every week. So it is all set up there for you to succeed right away. So yeah.
And just to carry on with your line of inquiry, Lana, we do actually train a lot of folks that have come through other institutions because of that experience as well. So yeah, we're fully aware of the other situations, and it's unfortunate, but yeah, look, we really hope that we're providing a service that is life-changing. That's what we really want to be doing. Grace, you've asked a question about the interview process. Um, our interview process is really, it's not an interview so much as it's a chance for you to be able to ask us anything and for us to be able to set you up for success. What we're looking for is, what your situation is, how you're going to be working, what your fears are, just so that we know how to support you. For example, I'm dyslexic, and my learning experience at school was mixed depending on the teacher I was with. So when we have folks knocking on our door, we're really interested to know if you're dyslexic, dyspraxic, if you've got autism, because we will change the way we do things for you so that you have an amazing experience, or at least the best experience we can provide. And that's a big part of the interview process. You might say to us, well, I had a shit time at school. I'm not sure quite what I've got, but basically, anytime I was doing this or doing that, I just didn't enjoy it. We're like, oh, cool. That's great because, we're not going to be teaching the way in which they did at school. And we'd love to figure that out with you. And by the time you come through foundations and get into boot camp, I think you're going to feel, or people that have that experience feel much better because it really is different. And they feel that instead of education being something daunting and intimidating, it's something that they feel is actually that they can do and they are successful at it, yet they've been told their whole life they're no good at it. TM, you're back. Have you got sound?
Let's see, is it working?
Yes.
Yes, okay, sorry about that. Nothing like arriving late to an appointment and then face planting into the room. So just want to apologize. I did get here quite late, so I missed the start. But I'm really stoked that I was able to catch, I think, Corina, when you were starting to go through the structure, and I was like, yes, the good bit. So thank you for that. It's been a really great info evening, just like learning and hearing what you guys offer. I do have a few questions that I've been sort of ticking off with some of the other questions that have been asked. It's been answered along the way. But I did have some that I'm a little bit like not quite keen to ask in this kind of forum. So in terms of like setting up, just having a wee chat about some concerns that may not be that I may have, is that possible? And is that maybe related to, I think Grace mentioned a question about an interview process. Is that like an application, part of the application process is having an interview?
Yeah, that's right. So when you apply on our website, it's a one pager. It's pretty quick and easy. The next thing that will happen is you'll have a chat to us, and that can be an hour long. It's as long as you want. So if you've got quite a lot of questions, concerns, we're really, really happy to make that happen. And don't feel like you're the only one. Like lots of people have lots of questions. This is a different program, and it's also something that we require a lot of commitment to. So we'd love to talk to you about those as well. But if also you'd like to talk to us even before you apply, you can just do a book a call on our website as well. And that will probably come through to me. And it really depends on what you want to talk about. If you want to talk about the course and the technical side, you'll probably talk to someone like Karina. If you want to talk about your ability to get work, what the job market's like, your eligibility and that sort of stuff to do a program like this, you probably end up talking to me. If you want to talk about student loans and allowances and so on, you probably end up talking to someone called Helena. So there are different people that you would go to, but by applying, you'll be able to speak to all of us.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you. Yeah, I think part of it is, like you've mentioned a few times, the time commitment, and that can be a little bit daunting. Similar to Lana, I did some study with another institution, and I actually have a qualification in web development and design, but not gonna lie, imposter syndrome is real, and I feel like I can barely code for shit, pardon my French. But like I feel like I spent a year and a half going through the course, and I'm like, they didn't cover testing, so it's kind of like, there's some knowledge, but there's a lot of gaps, and I'm like, is it a gap of my yes, same Lana, yeah. So it's like, is it a gap of maybe I'm just not committed enough, maybe I'm not passionate enough, or is it that I'm just not, I don't have the aptitude for it, or is it maybe I'm going in the wrong direction? So these are like a lot of questions that I don't expect that you would have the answers for it, but it would be great to just bounce some ideas off you, or just I don't know, ask some questions, or try to figure out before I like sign up and jump into this, because it is a huge commitment. You'd be quitting work, you'd be applying to a lot of hours. So yeah, I guess before I allow myself to consider that, I have to question, is this where I need to go and how can I determine that? Do you offer maybe like an aptitude test, or is it just more of the conversation you're able to get a sense for if this is the right pathway?
Yeah, no, we don't have an aptitude test, mainly because it won't serve you. We have had folks that have been 10 years into tech already that have come to us, and people that are absolutely brand new. And both of them have sat next to each other and had an amazing time coding together. And that might seem impossible, but again, it comes down to the way in which we customize that learning. I can tell you that your background, your ability to do this program is, yeah, you've got that ability, certainly. Would it supplement what you've already done? Certainly. It would be good to know, and I've put my email in there, and you're most welcome just to email me and we can have a chat. I can go and have a look through what you've studied, and just to give you an indication of how it compares to what we've done and so on. But we would understand where you're at technically and non-technically, and then we would push you further, quite a lot further. And if you think about it, someone that's done, so we've had folks that have done masters or even PhDs in comp sci, but that haven't been able to get work because they haven't had the human skills side of it. Now they've come to our program and they've been able to finish off their educational journey with something very practical that ends in quite a large portfolio, and they've bounced into fantastic employment opportunities because of that. Now, I can go through that process with you and tell you a little bit about other people's journeys and how it might work for you if you'd like.
Sorry, I'll mute there. Can you teach me how to use technology? No, that would be great. I'm just mindful of the time. I wasn't sure if this was meant to finish at 7, but thank you. I will follow up with an email. It's definitely, yeah, it would be great to just go a step further and just get some more info. So thank you for that.
No problem at all. What was you've got TM there, just so I recognize who you are.
Sorry, my name's Tanya. I should have said that. I intended to, but I was too busy face planting into the meeting room.
Thanks, Tanya. That's great. And look, for anyone else out there that wants to get in touch with me, rohan@devacademy.co.nz. My job is to manage expectations. And look, if I'm going to be really honest and open and transparent about what I do and about the journey and so on, because I do want you to be successful. So yeah, just write to me and we can set up a time to chat. Wonderful. Great questions, folks. Are there any more? Are there any that I've missed? I'm just going back on the chat. I think I've covered them all.
I think you got them all.
Yeah, cool. Thanks, Fleur. Is there any last questions before we wind up today, folks? And we've got until 7:30, so there's a good 10 minutes there. Don't feel like we're over time. Okie dokie. Oh, well, we'll wrap it up there. A huge thank you to Karina for your evening and going through the course detail and answering questions. You've done that so beautifully. Big thank you to Fleur for setting this up and making this happen. Love your work. And thank you to our guests, Grace, Lana, Sean, and Tanya. Yes. Thank you for coming, and really hope to see you apply to the program. Oh, last thing. Our cohort we've got a cohort starting in January for full-time and February for part-time. I would recommend getting in early for 2 reasons. One, you can't really miss out, but it takes time to set everything up and to organize your life, considering the commitments and so on. So do get in early. I think rushing it just sits you on the back foot, and you can always change your mind to any other cohort you like. There's no obligation to take the one that you've applied for. For the part-time program, if you're worried about being able to accommodate other things, or actually for either of the programs, if you're worried about either sort of, time commitments and so on, definitely talk to us. If you're deciding whether to do part-time or full-time, definitely talk to us. These are really common questions, but they need to be nutted out, probably with someone like me, just so that you feel comfortable about what program to choose. Bear in mind, we do not mind if you change dates of your cohort. We don't mind if you go from full-time to part-time, if you go from being in person in Auckland to going remote. All of those changes are totally fine. So if you haven't quite made up your mind, don't worry about that. We can help you with that. But thanks, everyone. We'll end it
Thank
there.
you.
Thanks very much. Okay, team. We'll
Yeah,
say
thanks
goodbye.
everyone. Have a good one.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
See
See you,
ya.
everyone. Bye.